Hey everybody, Ramdeen and Black with you here in downtown Toronto at Play Dead. Mark's keeping it real, making the magic happen here. Normally we don't do this, but we have to talk about a fight that may or may not materialize. We know UFC 214, Jon Jones, Daniel Cormier. So let's just say this is a win or lose situation. Whether Jon Jones wins or Jon Jones wins or loses, there is talk that he could be back in action in December. Brock Lesnar says he would fight Jon Jones anytime, anywhere. Me as a mixed martial arts fan, as a pro wrestling fan, as a spectacle fan, as a fan of combat, I am fucking dying for this fight because we've seen what Jon Jones has been able to do to fucking everybody. Yeah. So who can he not do that to? There's a lot of people. Well, Stipe Miocic, he wouldn't be able to do that to. Alistair Overeem, he wouldn't be able to do that. Cain Velasquez, I'm not sure. But what I know is Brock Lesnar is such a ridiculous freak of nature. And the proof of that is his fight with Randy Couture when he won the UFC Championship. But the fight with Mark Hunt, the fact that he took this guy out of his game and didn't allow Mark Hunt to fight Mark Hunt's fight. So if Brock Lesnar decides, you know what, I'm not going to let this little skinny leg dude fight his fight, I'm just going to barrel him over and fight the Brock Lesnar fight.
Yeah, and then I'll take his skinny leg and I'll bite part of the calf off.
He wouldn't bite the calf because there's no meat.
Yeah, take
He'd
this
have to go up on the thigh.
Up on the thigh. Yeah, we never speculate because it's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like we get all excited about the fight that is happening. We go back and look at the other fight. What if? But we also wanted at one time, when we worked over at Fight Network, there was a series you wanted to do called What If, right? And there was actually a Marvel comic once called What If, and there was a What If the Thing did this or whatever. And in Brock Lesnar's The Thing, and what if the Thing fought the greatest fighter in the world? And it could actually happen. And anybody, if you're right now going, guys, this will never happen, I got two words for you. Mayweather, McGregor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know on where, like, how and why.
Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America.
Whether we're talking about this phone, this
anything
cup, we're talking about anything. We're talking about computers, we're talking about coffee. We live in a society that things are run by commerce. And this fight would be insane money. Insane money. And when things are insane money, those two words, Mayweather, McGregor, it happens. So this fight absolutely could happen. So right away, what I find strange about it when we think about it is immediately people go to a very similar place. They go with McGregor, Mayweather. They say, well, this guy's way better than this guy. And the weird part about that is, I was telling you this earlier, I was at TriStar last week. I got beat up by George St. Pierre. Oh, that's my coffee. Hope I didn't spill it. I got beat up by George St. Pierre, and he was trying to be nice. He's a very kind training partner. He's just big and powerful, which gave me insight into the difference of somebody who's big and powerful. However, he's way better than me. So the argument is Jon Jones is more skilled than Lesnar. Later, I trained with Zach Makovsky's girlfriend, Tanya, who's a little better than me, but I'm bigger and stronger. And at first she was able to, and anybody who's ever trained jiu-jitsu, somebody a little better than you, but you're bigger and stronger, you make up for that. You're able to, you've done it.
I've done it.
You've trained with people better than you, who are smaller than you, and there are lots of times you can find the time to dominate.
And what we're told is, oh, you shouldn't muscle it. I'm like, but if I don't muscle it, I'm going to get choked out.
Exactly. And that's what Lesnar would do in this scenario.
Because nobody's going to say, Brock, you can't use the size and strength here. It can only be about technique.
Exactly. I'm fighting for my life against Jon Jones. It's going to be all power. I mean, when you see those takedowns, the ones where he just comes shooting
flying
across
through the air.
Yeah, and it's so jarring. Like, when it was UFC 200. Where he fought against Mark Hunt. I went and did a breakdown. I can't remember if it was, I believe it was for the UFC themselves. And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the Mark Hunt mobility, and he had been very good in previous fights, moving circularly. Mm-hmm. So if your camera is coming directly at him, it was just this movement. And when we look back at Jones, or at Lesnar, comes barreling at you. It's perfect for that circular lateral movement. Basically swing by, touch him up a few times, stay on the outside. Didn't go that way. Lesnar took him down repeatedly. Jones is different. Of course he's different. But Mark Hunt's 285 pounds. Mm-hmm. Lesnar's 300 pounds. John Jones is 230, maybe without a weight cut. And you get in deep on a tall guy, it could happen. Mm-hmm. And if and when they get into any type of grappling exchange, is John Jones a more evolved grappler? Maybe. But this guy's so big and strong, you can overcompensate for those things. So it is a fascinating, unbelievably fascinating fight that I have a weird feeling is going to happen.
I have a feeling it's going to happen too, because we look at the landscape of things and we know that the UFC, the new ownership, after spending all that money, they need big money fights. And they need big money fights with the current stars that they have. And if they can somehow get Brock Lesnar back in there with interesting fights, they're going to make like this. And this is one. To me, I don't care if there's let's say John Jones becomes the light heavyweight champion again. There's already speculation that he's now 30 years old, that he's not going to be staying at 205 forever.
Right. So we're actually simultaneously breaking two of our old school rules, because you learn, you adapt. We're different people than we were a year ago, and we'll be different people later. We never speculate, and we never get ahead of ourselves. Never. What would happen? What about the next fight? There's a fight fucking Saturday night against the light heavyweight champion of the world. But this captures so much imagination. If John Jones loses to Dan Cormier, which is possible. Which is certainly possible. Cormier's going to retire. Cormier's going to leave. He's going to say, I avenged my only loss against a man I hate. I'm 40 years old. I've made my money. I'm leaving the champ. I'm the fuck out of here. Still possible. It's so compelling that and we hate speculation, and we hate looking past fights, and we can't stop. We can't help ourselves.
I think one of the reasons why is because we address the fact that Daniel Cormier and John Jones are the two top guys in the division. Now, if you remove Cormier, he defeats John Jones at UFC 214 and retires from the sport. I guess you do have, because if you're John Jones, like, okay,
I beat everybody.
Who am I fighting? Then I guess you have Gustafsson say, well, lots of people thought I beat you, but is that a money fight for the UFC? Is that a fight that's going to capture the world's imagination? I say no. You want to see it, and I want to see it.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
And fight fans want to see it. But the UFC right now seems like, I'm sorry, but we need bigger money fights than just interesting fights for the hardcore fans.
Yeah, I personally, I'd love to see, at some point in the future, John Jones fight Gustafsson again. Of course. But we don't live in a fantasy world where our dreams come true.
Yeah.
We live in a world...
We hope.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great? But we live in a world controlled by commerce and capitalism and the things that we live in. This is real. This is where we live. And, Jones, one day in the future, regardless of Saturday night, one day in the future, we'll probably look to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. But who knows, man?
And if that's the conversation, it's like, fuck, why not start with Brock Lesnar? Yeah. Why not start with the less skilled
Make
guy?
$5 million and fight something that... And a lot of these guys...
Because you look at Stipe, you look at Kane, you look at some of those other guys, it's like, well, they're better than Brock. Mm-hmm. They're better than Brock because they know all the areas inside of the cage, and they're more technically proficient. So why not start with this if the eventual move is to go up to heavyweight?
I think you're right, and it's a fascinating thing right now. You know, what motivates the greats? And John Jones was motivated by being great and being a winner and being successful, but he was also distracted by drugs and parties and weird stuff in his life before. If that has changed at 30 and then into his low 30s, he'll be sitting there wanting challenges. And for some of them, it's like, I want a weird challenge. For some of them, it's like, I want the hardest fight ever. I mean, Stipe Miocic, I think, is the hardest fight in the world. Yeah. Over 190 pounds. Like, the hardest fight in the world is him. So that's all in the future. But this weekend, he's fighting Daniel Cormier. And there are plenty of people, when you talk to them, we've chatted about it. You can find it on the YouTube channel, our chat about Cormier-Jones. It's a beautiful fight. There's plenty of fairly educated people feeling upset this weekend and feeling Cormier.
Again, you know, as much as I can see what they mean, that being an upset, it really wouldn't be an upset to me because you know what Daniel Cormier is made of. You know, you understand the grit. Every time he goes into that gym and he gets manhandled, he dusts himself off and says, because of that, I'm better. And it's going to be compounded. And to see Daniel Cormier, the perfect version, when I say the perfect version, sure, I'm sure he would love to be 28 years old, but this is a reality. This is the best version of Daniel Cormier, I think, there has ever been because of how far he's evolved. He's in the right place. He's faced John Jones before. He's done all the proper preparation. So I don't see this really as an upset if Daniel Cormier happens to beat John Jones, but I understand what people are saying.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's fair. It's a heavy fight, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be a heavy fight. And it's going to be a while till we see a fight with this much weight. And is bigness a word? Because there's a bigness to this fight.
The light heavyweight championship on the line. Will John Jones be able to do it for the second time, or will DC prove that he is the fucking man?